Hi, everyone. It's just me today. Patriot Sounds has a day off, and we have Firo joining us. We had this planned several weeks ago, and despite current events with the exploit, we feel we got to keep moving forward. And I don't have anything really new to update with the exploit. Um, I basically just woke up. I spent last evening trying to take down a couple of scammer sites, and apparently Coin Bureau, and I don't know if anyone else has actually been promoting these sites, saying that there's like a refund or you need to do something to protect your THORChain, whatever you have on THORChain or your Rune. I don't know. I don't know what the actual scam is, but I took down. I submitted the info to have two sites taken down yesterday, last evening. Once we're done on the podcast here, I'll look more into it, see if there's any other ones to do. But yeah, these are scam sites. Do not click on anything. Right now, trading is halted on THORChain. Everything is frozen, so there's nothing you can do, and your funds are safe right now. That's why it's frozen. That's why everything's halted. But there's nothing anyone has to do. You just wait and get updates from us, and just make sure I was using the official THORChain channels, to know what's going on. Don't trust any of these third-party sites. Even if you think it's a reputable journalist, don't trust them. Come straight to the THORChain site. Um, so, uh, uh, so yeah, sorry guys, I don't have anything new. The guys, I'm confident in them working on it, and I suspect we'll have more of an update, Monday or Tuesday type thing. So for now, we'll just we'll just move forward here. And I'll have a quick intro here, Reuben. I'll go through it. Um, so THORChain is the world's leading Bitcoin DEX. You can swap 13 different blockchains across 41 different pools without using bridges or wrapped tokens. You can check it out at swap.thorchain.org. It's not on right now, but hopefully soon. Trading will resume, and you'll be able to go check it out there. Anyone in the world can use THORChain. There's no account to open, no KYC required, and privacy is a human right. THORChain has two tokens, Rune and TCY. The fees for swapping on THORChain are paid in Rune, and that's where the yield comes from. The fees are deducted from the swaps. You don't need to own Rune to trade on THORChain. The Rune token is deflationary as 5% of the revenue is burned. 10% of protocol revenue goes to TCY token holders, and you have to stake these tokens in order to collect the yield. There are no block rewards. The protocol revenue is real money paid by real users. And THORChain is more than just a DEX now. It's a programmable layer 1 with the ability to create decentralized apps on it. And this app layer is being developed by Rujira. If you need help with THORChain in general, or if you have any questions about what's going on with this exploit, join the THORChain community Discord and join THORChain community Discord and the Telegram group. And links for those are on thorchain.org. And make sure the spelling is right, thorchain.org. Actually, I should show that, because these scam sites, they're just changing one or two letters, right? So make sure you guys use that spelling. Always double check, especially right now. And please follow THORChain on Facebook and Instagram, THORChain Contact on TikTok. We need 1,000 followers there so we can live stream on those platforms. And this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. And the THORChain community does not endorse or condone illicit activity of any kind. And so with all of that said, I'd like to welcome our guest, Reuben. I appreciate you still joining us, despite the negative news. And hopefully we can have a positive conversation with you. So if you don't mind, just give us a quick intro about yourself and your journey in crypto and what led you to starting Firo.
Sure. And first of all, hearts out to like the THORChain team. The Firo ourselves have also dealt with, vulnerabilities and hacks before. So we know what you guys are going through, and you guys are doing the right thing. So yeah, as much as I can say, my heart is with you, and I know how it feels. So glad that it's going to get resolved eventually.
Appreciate
So
it. Thanks.
yeah, a little bit about myself. I'm Reuben. I am the co-founder and project steward of Firo. I guess that's a fancy name for a janitor of Firo. And I got into cryptocurrency in about 2012. When I was actually, I was running a VPN service. It was quite a popular one back then, which I started in 2007. And what actually happened was back then VPNs were considered really like dangerous. They were like, oh, why would you want to use a VPN? If you're trying to hide your internet traffic, you must be doing something illegal. Kind of like the same arguments that we're hearing on privacy coins today, right? And now it's very normalized. Everyone uses a VPN. It comes bundled with your browser, comes bundled with your phone. But back then it wasn't the same, and we were deplatformed from many credit card institutions for payment gateways, and we were left with PayPal, which was charging really astronomical fees, and also constantly freezing our accounts, even though we didn't have chargebacks. And I was like, there has to be a better way, right? And that's when someone introduced me to Bitcoin. I was like, great, what's this magic internet money? And did the whole jiggle right? Like when mining, lost money on exchanges, even assembled my own ASIC, which was quite fun as well. And I really got into this idea of being able to be a part of this value transfer infrastructure that was really exciting. And I guess a part of me is, still really excited about what to me is still the killer app of cryptocurrency, which is value transfer being, digital money. And I'm glad that we have not abandoned that mission, despite many others doing so, right? And I guess what happened was I got into privacy coins. I dabbled a little bit with Monero, more into THORChain, which is now Dash. And when I heard about Zcoin in 2016, which was actually the very first zero knowledge proof coin to launch, we were actually 1 month earlier than Zcash. And we were using something called the Zerocoin paper. And when I read the Zerocoin paper, it seemed like such a revolutionary way to approach privacy, because back then everyone was just using ring signatures or some coin join mixes. And so Zerocoin was like the first zero knowledge proof system that existed. And it just seemed something that was really appealing to me. I volunteered, joined, and actually originally started as a community guy, which is kind of weird. It's like, oh, why are you the co-founder? But then within a couple of months, I started assuming more and more responsibilities. And I think, basically the day-to-day stuff came up past to me. And the other guy's like, yeah, let's just call you the co-founder as well. So,
A great
so yeah, 9
promotion.
years. That's right. So,
That's actually been my journey at THORChain. I'm not pretending to be a
oh,
co-founder, but I just started as community members, investing, started a fund. Then I started a marketing company for THORChain. I'm doing these podcasts. I just
wow.
kind of worked my way up the food chain just because I was interested and believe in it. Um, but sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no worries. And basically we're 9 years in, that's like an eternity in crypto space. And we're still building privacy. And right now we've iterated over several other privacy protocols. So we started with Zerocoin, we moved to something called Sigma, which removed the trusted setup from Zerocoin. Then we moved to something called Lelantus, and then Lelantus Spark. So we have actually kind of been at the forefront of not just like implementing privacy protocols. We have actually been building privacy protocols, and our work has been actually influenced other projects. Like for example, Monero, when they were talking about Seraphis, was largely based off our work with Lelantus Spark. And there was a previous thing called now I just a triptych, which was also based off our work with Lelantus. And Beam also adapted some of our technology called Lelantus to something they call Lelantus Mimblewimble. So yeah, we've been actually like doing the really hard work as a community project, no VC funds or anything like that. And yeah, we're still building. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. And I used to be a lawyer prior to getting into cryptocurrency. I was a lawyer for 10 years. So it's quite a pivot for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
But when you mention those other projects, do they just keep changing names, or are those separate and distinct projects that you guys
Oh, no,
work?
no. They are those are just the privacy protocols. So
Mhm.
like, like Monero uses ring CT, right? So
I gotcha. Sorry.
the
Okay.
Zerocoin protocol, then the Sigma protocol, then the Lelantus, then the Lelantus Spark. So they're all within Firo Zcoin. Zcoin is rebranded to Firo, but then basically all the protocol has been on the same chain. It's all the same project. Yeah.
So Firo Zcoin has been around for 9 years. Did you say?
Yeah, since 2016, I think
Oh
September
wow.
2016. Yeah. Been
And
around for a long time.
it's based on ZK proof, zero knowledge proof, not.
Driven knowledge proof, but nothing to do with Zcash tag. It's a completely different cryptographic primitives. Yeah.
Okay, and that on purpose, or is it just kind of you kind of two start similarly and then veer off, or you started very different from
No.
the beginning?
Oh, well, the zero coin paper and the zero cash paper, which Zcash was originally based on, had certain joint authors, but they were still using very different cryptographic primitives. But then when when we use Zerocoin, it still had what we call a trusted setup, which also like Zcash had in this original, with sapling and sprout as well. And we were like, look, we really want to get rid of trusted setup. So for those of you who don't know what trusted setup is basically when you're creating a zero knowledge proof system, you kind of need to generate certain parameters, and those parameters need to be destroyed. And they have to be really destroyed, because if somehow those parameters are retained, then you basically have a backdoor into the system and can create coins out of thin air without anyone detecting, right? So this is what we call the trusted setup problem. And usually those parameters that you destroy is called toxic waste. Now, Zcash and a lot of other projects have kind of made it like they're quite smart and made it into a like it's not a good thing to have, but they made it like into a marketing thing. Like, oh yeah, let's come together with this ceremony. Let me show you how I destroy my hard disk and stuff like that. But we felt that basing your privacy system on something that you kind of need to trust that people were destroying it correctly was not ideal, right? Obviously now there are better ways to kind of do the trusted setup ceremony, so that as long as only one of them destroyed it, they still cannot assemble the whole thing. But still, it's just not a desirable property to have. And we, I guess, really wanted to find a solution to do that. And that's why we came up with Sigma. And I think also on our end, our current ZK structure doesn't use circuits. It's using very specialized proofs to do specific things. Like rather than a circuit that proves, so a ZK circuit is like, oh yeah, let me prove a bunch of things, right? That I'm not creating coins out of thin air. That the sender and receiver is everything is like done within the circuit. While for us, it's like, all right, do you actually have the coins? That's one proof. I want to hide receiver privacy. That's one type of proof. So it's more modular, and they're like specialized proofs rather than a whole circuit that does everything, which makes it a lot simpler to understand and maintain. And it also allows us to, let's say, like, oh, right, there's a better proof for this membership proof. We can take it out and put a new one in as well. So yes, I would say it's a conscious choice to be different. Not that we are holding to it, like, we can't change or anything like that, but it's we believe that right now, like if you take a look at the privacy space, there's not a lot of differentiation. There's Monero forks, everyone using Ring CT or Zcash forks, right? And then you have some Mimblewimble and stuff like that. But there aren't that many primitives, and we felt that all these had their own drawbacks, and we felt that we needed to do something that was still providing very, very high levels of privacy, but using cryptographic primitives that were tried and tested, easy to understand, and can be easily maintained by a community, which encourages decentralization rather than being kind of beholden to a very well-funded tech company that is very difficult to displace, which is some of the challenges that Zcash faces as well. So yeah.
So would you, um, do you think Firo is better privacy than Zcash or Monero, or
So
just different? It's just
it's different. It definitely has better privacy than Monero theoretically. Obviously, Monero has a lot more users, and a lot more market cap. So maybe practically their privacy is higher, but theoretically our privacy is higher. With Zcash, they do definitely have the highest theoretical privacy, but it comes with a lot of complexity, and we've seen also like a lot of vulnerabilities that may be quite hard to detect from outsiders as well. But I would say that our anonymity set per transaction is in like 32,000 or more, and if you it's very hard to kind of quantify that, but it's much better than, let's say, like Monero's 16, right? But Zcash has like global anonymity sets and stuff like that. So whether that makes an actual practical difference, I mean, that's a question. But I would think I wouldn't say we are more private, but I definitely think that we have other features that make us as a more complete package, which I can talk about in a bit.
sure. Didn't I see something about Monero went from like 16 to 200 million or something?
Right. So they have something called FCMPs,
Yeah,
which we call curve trees, which we were actually considering to do the upgrade for. And actually, so they have done really good work at that. But we were actually thinking of not going down that path. First of all, FCMPs are not live. I don't know whether it'll be live at the end of this year. It's making good progress. But the other thing is that FCMPs are not quantum proof or resistant. So we were thinking rather than do all these changes to get FCMPs and then later you have to replace it with something else. Let's start working on the post quantum resistant privacy protocol now, and rather than trying to work on something that may be obsolete in, like, I don't know, 5 years or something like that, right? So that's our
gotcha,
current thought process. Yeah.
gotcha. So the main difference between you and
Mm.
Monero, like Monero uses ring signatures. They do not
Yes,
use ZK proofs, zero knowledge proofs.
that's right.
And
Currently, they
Firo,
do not. Curve trees, like ZK as well. Different construction, obviously,
mhm.
but yeah, ring signatures are not what most people call ZK. Yeah.
and and I actually I'm pretty sure my memory's right. I saw a post the other day, a snippet from one of Satoshi's comments in a blog mentioning zero knowledge proof, and if there's some way to apply it to Bitcoin, that they would. They don't know how. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think he
So,
was talking about ring signatures. I think
oh,
Satoshi was
oh
talking
shoot.
about ring.
Oh,
No,
okay.
because ZK didn't exist then. The
Oh shoot.
technology
Okay.
wasn't even then, and I mean ZK is only like kind of taken on in like 2011, 2012 ish. So really new stuff, and
Well, no,
Satoshi I think wasn't in that picture then. Yeah.
no, this would have been, well, this was a later post. I don't think it
Hmm.
was like before Bitcoin started. I'm pretty
No,
sure it
but
was
I know the
zero.
post that you're talking about. It was
You
ring
do?
signatures.
E-ring signature?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
alright,
Because
okay.
Monero people were saying like, yeah, look, this is what
Okay,
Satoshi
okay.
wanted. Yeah, so I'm
Okay.
really sure.
Okay, well, I was trying to give you, some, like, the even Satoshi believes in ZK, so sorry, that backfired.
No, I think it's more the
Um,
idea that Satoshi values privacy, and I don't think he's like
totally.
talking about a particular tool. That was just the available tool that was available then, right? But he's more addressing that Bitcoin should have privacy, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate that even today, I don't think there's going to be any serious move to for Bitcoin to have privacy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not if my memory serves me, the gist of that post was the reason Bitcoin was public is so they can verify. The nodes can
That's right.
verify the transactions and everything, right? And they didn't know
Hmm.
how to get around that. So it was like a necessary
Correct.
evil for Bitcoin to be public. It wasn't that they
Exactly.
wanted it to. It was the only way they could make it work at the time.
Mm.
And so then what changed? Who really figured it out? How did like to go like how can Firo, how can the nodes or miners on Firo, how can they verify transactions? How do they know if it's all private? How do they know? How can they verify stuff?
So that's kind of like what the zero knowledge proof is, right? I am proving that that something is correct without actually showing you what it is, right? And one example would be just like a very, of course, this is like anecdotal, just for you to understand what it is. It's like, let's say I want to prove to you that I know the combination of this safe, right? And I tell you, yeah, put a note inside, and I'll tell you what you wrote on that note, right? And what I'll do is that, yeah, okay, you put the note in, you lock the safe, and then you go away, and I unlock it, I read the note, and I don't show you the combination, right? So if I do it, I can prove to you that yes, I know the combination to the safe, but I'm not giving you the combination, right? So like that's a really basic, not
I mean,
super
you're just
accurate
telling me
way
what
to
the note says, and because I know what the note
yeah,
says, you tell me what the note says,
yes,
I can
that's right.
deduce you know the password.
That's right. Yes. So this is how like zero knowledge proofs. Well, of course, now we have a whole mathematical construction to say like I am proving to you that I'm not creating coins out of thin air, that I do have the right to transfer A to B, and like both sides of the transaction are equal. There's no negative numbers. There's no infinite numbers. I'm proving all these things, right? They call them range proofs. That means, I'm making sure that the number is not a negative number and it's not an infinite number. That's what you call a range proof. Then you call a balance proof, a proof that makes sure that both sides sending and receiving are the same. I'm not creating coins out of thin air, and I actually have the ownership. So using all these mathematical proofs, you can verify that these things are all true, but I'm not giving you the details. I can tell you, yes, the balance is correct. No coins are being created out of thin air. There's no negative or infinite numbers. It's a valid sender and receiver, but I'm not going to tell you who it is. Kind of similar where in a safe way, I'm not telling you the combination. I'm just telling you, I'm proving to you that I know the combination, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Mm.
That's good. Thank you for that great explanation.
Yeah.
So, okay, so like Satoshi and like all this, OG cypherpunks, they obviously all believed in privacy. And, you mentioned that, Bitcoin, they're probably not going to change anything. I agree. I think it's getting much more
Yeah.
ossified. It's just too big. It's just too much. It's too decentralized now that I don't think they could ever agree. Um,
Or some would say too centralized.
oh, okay, well,
That,
fair enough. Yeah, I guess depends. Sure. Okay.
yeah. Mm.
Um, so the but the powers that be anyway, the influential people want to kind of keep Bitcoin as it is. Like what? Like the Bitcoin market cap of Bitcoin is what? It's like $1 trillion, and the market cap of like Monero, Zcash,
Yeah.
Dash, Firo, even Litecoin, if you want
Yeah.
to include it. Like it's like what, 10
A
billion or
fraction.
something? Yeah, it's like
Yes. Yeah.
1%. So I'm curious, do you have any thoughts like, all these OGs, these
Mm.
people that really believe in privacy, why are they still in Bitcoin, or why hasn't more of them moved into these privacy coins? Why aren't privacy coins more bigger and more prominent and whatnot? If this is kind of what all these OGs really believe in.
I don't think that's what the OGs believe in. I mean, maybe some of the OGs believe it, but obviously, I mean, the biggest answers are, well, they call it the Lindy effect, right? And obviously, Bitcoin has, it's the success of and the utility of any sort of asset is greatly dependent on how much is adopted, how much is accepted, and Bitcoin has that size, right? But and it used to be, and it doesn't need to be like the most private. It just needs to be private enough, right? And for some people, it's just like, oh yeah, I just use a new address every time. That's good enough. Like, unless I'm like, hacking someone for several $1 million or something like that, no one's going to be bothering about like a, $100, $200 transaction and do block, chain analysis and stuff like that. Obviously, I would say with the advent of AI and all these tools, that's kind of not so true anymore. But for most people, it is good enough because let's face it, although crime is a very small part of cryptocurrency, there is crime that is happening. And actually, most of the crime is happening on stable coins, not even Bitcoin, right? Like,
Yeah.
and stable coins are completely transparent, and yet we only see the big bust, right? Like when North Korea happens, and even then, it's like I don't know whether they really managed to freeze all the funds or something like that. So I think for most people, it's more of like, yeah, is this an asset that I can hold that I can feel safe in because it's got a certain market cap and all of that? But at the same time, for privacy coins, you are getting bigger privacy, but at the same time, there's also more risk, right? Especially when you're starting to hide things. Like unlike with Bitcoin, yes, you can have an inflation bug, and yes, it has happened before. I think in 2000, I think it happened once. There was like an infinite. There was a huge mint bug, and then there was another near miss in 2018. But at least everyone can see it happen, right? For privacy coin, because the amounts are hidden and all this type of things, it can be harder to detect, right? The inflation can happen in a way that is undetectable for a while, right? And that makes people, well, am I willing to accept this compromise, right? That I'm trusting that the cryptography is correct, uh, but I can't totally audit the supply, right? So I wouldn't say that the supply is not auditable. The supply is auditable using the zero knowledge proofs, but are the zero knowledge proofs coded correctly? Is the cryptography correct? Those are additional risks that people are thinking about, and that's one of the biggest reasons that Bitcoin hasn't adopted any sort of ZK level type of privacy, and why they've just kind of stuck with coin join or stuff like that, which is, yeah, you are kind of mixing your funds, but it's done in a way where you're not hiding amounts, you're not hiding the sender and receiver, you're just like munching them together and like mixing it all, right? So that's kind of why, even though it's a much worse user experience, I guess it depends what your use case is, what you're optimizing for. I do believe that eventually the tech will be there. And I think we're starting to see this. Like, most people use ZK in so many areas, right? Not just in privacy, but in L2s and all of that, that it's kind of become much more mainstream, and that, people are much more comfortable with the tech, that I think this problem is less of an issue. But it's also a reason why Bitcoin is like, maybe this is too experimental for us to play with, right? Yeah.
So it's like, if I understand you right, it's like the 80/20 rule. So like Bitcoin is pseudonymous,
hmm
and kind of like with 20% of the effort, maybe you can get 80% of the privacy, and that's
No,
that's
I
good
wouldn't.
enough.
I wouldn't say 80% of the privacy, but it's more of like if I am a hacker and I want to move funds with the liquidity, right? Would I move it with Monero? Like even with Monero, like I can't move like several $1 million in an instant, right? But with Bitcoin, I can, right?
Yeah,
Because of the
yeah,
sheer market cap,
yeah.
and that makes
Well,
sense.
that's
Yeah.
that's why the US dollar is the
yeah.
what everyone uses to launder money. I saw a post the other day. It
Yep.
said last year alone, $3 trillion was laundered in the financial system. And they're worried about our
Yes.
peer-to-peer transactions. They're worried about Firo, and like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
buying
Yeah.
a beer with Firo, right? So like, you choose. How about liquidity? And that's they hide in that. The bigger the crowd, the easier it is to hide, right? Um,
With privacy coins, it's easy to point them as a bogeyman, right? Because we are saying we are privacy coins, and a lot of the times, if you take a look at how regulation has come about, it's more about the optics, right? Like, is Litecoin a privacy coin? I don't know. It's kind of is with the privacy features, right? Because like in Europe, there's this wording. How do they customize? How do they classify privacy preserving assets? And the way they say is that, oh, if it has inbuilt anonymization features, so they're saying that, oh yeah, okay, Ethereum is fine because like, the privacy is offered through a smart contract like Railgun or Tornado Cash. It's not inbuilt, right? It's someone built something on top of it. Bitcoin is fine because it has this mixing, which is not really part of the protocol, someone building on top of it. But Litecoin, the Mimblewimble extension blocks are a pretty key part. and yet somehow it's kind of like, it's okay, right? So it's a bit hypocritical. I do feel that the way that regulators are approaching it in a way kind of self-defeating, because like I actually spoke to some people who were looking at Monero, and they were like, when Monero was allowed on exchanges, like where you would go for liquidity for Monero would be the centralized exchanges. So your deposit and whatnot. And obviously no matter how good your privacy is, the exchange has your data, right? so so and then authorities could go say, oh yeah, this money flow went into this exchange and whatnot. There's a trail to go. But then now you force them off the exchanges. Now people are looking at like, more decentralized options, and then the regulators kind of lose sight, right? So it's kind of self-defeating, but they're just trying to kill privacy coins in as a whole, which I don't really understand why when, so much crime is happening. If you take a look at the amount of crypto crime that's happening on privacy coins, it's about 1% compared to stable coins, compared to Bitcoin, stuff like that. And it's just really telling, right? Yeah.
Reuben, I don't Coke, can you tell, is it my internet or Reuben's internet? That's, Reuben, your
My
internet, I
internet.
think, is a bit choppy there. Um, I don't know if there's anything you were great before. It just kinda just got bad, kinda bad now.
Let me see. How about now? Is it still bad?
I can hear you better. Okay, as long as I can hear you, that's what matters.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
so, yeah, I'm glad you brought this up about, well, for one, so this is why, oh, there you go, I can see it. You're clear now. Um, so Monero is coming to THORChain soon. We're pretty excited about it. It'll be the first
Huh.
decentralized exchange of Monero. So we like to think it'll be huge. And Zcash should come soon. We're going to do Dash after those two. And I really like the community everyone seems on board to move forward with privacy coins. And that's why we're talking with Firo, because I would love to see THORChain become the privacy coin DEX, right? And we don't need the centralized exchanges. That's the whole point of THORChain. Get off these
Yeah.
centralized exchanges and start doing things properly. But there's and for a long time with the THORChain community, there's been this hesitation or concern about doing it because of the implications. And it's like, just like you couldn't have said it any better. It's like, you know, the the view of stablecoins is like, oh, and the view of privacy, you must be doing something wrong, right? That really, and even reasonable people kind of have that thinking that, oh, if you want to be private, you must be hiding something, right? And so it's a really awful, our culture is just, it got privacy completely wrong, right? And it's really sad, and it's scary in a lot of ways because um, um, those of us that get it don't, we appreciate how important it actually is, right? For a free society to have privacy. Our how free we are is correlated to how much privacy we have, right? The less privacy we have, the less free we are. So
Mm.
it's scary with these regulators and who else, and doesn't want us to have any privacy. They don't want us to have any freedom, right? They want to be able to control us, and so we get that. I assume you get it. Um, is this something we have to worry about? Like, have you had any pressure from Big Brother to like stop you guys, shut you down? Have you been delisted from centralized exchanges? Has
We got delisted from Binance.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have, I think, probably one of the worst positions as a privacy. First of all, we are a privacy coin. We're not that big, right? And that makes us a very big target. And let me just kind of like share some of the
Because you're
delist.
small, you're easy to pick on? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because I mean, like, we don't have VC backers. Well, we're like a $20 million coin. Delisting us is not going to hurt the exchange's bottom line, right? But if you're going to delist Litecoin, that's a lot of
Yeah.
exchange volume that you're going to be losing, right? Now, just to kind of like share, right? For example, we are actually on Gate.io. So this exchange called Gate.io, but you wouldn't see it on their exchange. You can't even search for Firo on it. You need to go to a specific URL to access it, right? And I asked them, I said, but why? Why don't just delist us if you're gonna do that? And they're like, oh, because you're a privacy coin, there's concerns. And when I'm like, what are you guys talking about? You have pirate chain on it, you have Monero, and you don't have this type of restrictions. Because I said, are you sure? And then they were like, yeah, because the regulators basically flagged you, right? They targeted you. And when we were having talks with Binance, I was like, why aren't you talking about PIVX? PIVX is the exact same situation as us. They have similarly the optional and the private. Why are they treated differently than us? Why are you also treating Litecoin differently than us? Like, what is the functional difference? Is it just marketing? But PIVX calls themselves a privacy coin. So what's the issue? And they're even smaller market cap than us. And they basically said, because the regulators put your name into the basket and said, we're not very comfortable with this, right? And Zcash was actually meant to be on the chopping block on Binance as well. But then, Zcash is very well connected. They had this, a bunch of their VCs went to talk to CZ and a bunch of Binance bigwigs and say like, hey, this will be bad for you if you delist us and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. Even though, by the way, the system that Zcash uses to stay on Binance, which is something they call tax addresses, was an idea actually that was pioneered by us. I was the one that was negotiating with Binance and their compliance team to talk about this solution, and they accepted it, and they asked Zcash and all the other coins follow what Firo is doing, right?
Wow.
And
Was
yet it was still not enough, right? We were delisted because of a community vote, which, by the way, we were really low down the list. That means like lower down the list means the less likely you're going to get delisted. The more people vote, it's a vote to delist community thing. So what
is
was
this
number
internal,
one?
like Binance management, or is this like any regular Binance user was voting?
You had to be a BNB holder, but it was all a kind of a farce because they let the community vote on it. And then what happened was, uh, so what got a lot of votes to be delisted was FTT, which is the FTX token, which obviously should be delisted, right? And then Zcash got a much higher. That means higher means not good, right? That means they got more votes to delist a much higher, and we were like 21 out of 27. So we thought we were safe. But then they delisted us saying, oh, based on the community vote, obviously the community vote is not the only factor that we consider, but based on the community vote, Firo is going to get delisted, right? And I was like, right, I did all these things, to comply, and without compromising, because actually Binance actually asked us, are you going to remove privacy? And we're like, no. Are you going to do a backdoor? No, right? And they asked Horizon, which is another project, and they stripped their privacy entirely, right? So they went to a bunch of projects. They went to Verge. Verge never had any sort of privacy, and Verge was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not a privacy coin. Actually, we're just as private as Bitcoin. We just have Tor." Yeah, all these people showing their true colors. I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
bit bitter. You can tell about it. But
No, dude.
yeah.
Well, actually, this is one thing. I feel silly. I didn't even ask you this. Like, is Firo default privacy or is it opt in? So
So our wallets are all default privacy, but there is a transparent layer that you can adopt, right? And it's also because of the nature of the technology. Back then, Zerocoin was designed for Bitcoin, so it definitely worked with a transparent layer. So as we iterated, it was quite hard, especially as a smaller coin, right? I can say like, look, if I adopted pure Spark addresses today, I might lose a huge part of my ecosystem, a huge part of my exchange listings. But we are moving towards that. We are getting much more into the shielded pool. We're like, putting certain things that will only work within the shielded pool. Like, for example, we have something called Spark Names, which is kind of like Ethereum name service where you can like register a name like Kenton and I just send to you Kenton. Except that now, unlike in ENS where I can look up Kenton and see everything you've received and sent, this is privacy preserving. I can't see, it's like an email address, right? I can send to it, but you can't see when I send, when I receive money in it. And this is like such a great like usability thing, right? So
Yeah.
Firo, besides being private, it's also easy to use, and it uses the same technology as Dash to get the instant transactions. So that means when I transfer to you, the thing's finalized within a couple of seconds, even before you see a block confirmation. So you get instant, private, and also easy to use all the Spark names and stuff like that. So I think that's like, to me, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make this as digital cash, easy to use, right? Kind of similar goals as Dash, except that we are, I guess, much more privacy focused. Right?
Reuben,
Yeah.
you're cutting out from me. Coke, can you hear him?
Oh no.
Oh, maybe it's my internet now.
Hello.
I don't hear you, Coke.
How about now? Can you hear me?
It's a bit. I can't. No, Reuben is frozen for me. Can you hear him, Coke? Can you guys hear me?
The I don't have anything uploading. It looks fine for me.
Sorry.
Well, I
No,
think the
I can't.
recording would be fine. Let me try
Maybe it's my
and see.
internet. Maybe I'll type in the message here.
Oh, Coke. I hear Coke. No?
I can hear your background noise, Coke.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we're back. Reuben, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yeah. Can you
Yeah,
hear
I
me?
don't know if it's yeah, okay, I think we're good now. Sorry. Um, you can hear me, not Reuben. Okay. Yeah, we
Not
hear
good
you.
now.
Reuben is the one who is frozen. Okay. Sorry, Reuben. I think I'm blaming it on you. Uh,
The jungles of
um,
Borneo. That's why.
um, what was I? Oh, that's what. You mentioned Dash. So Dash is a mix of proof of work and proof of stake. How
That's
does
right.
Firo work? Is it proof of work,
Same
proof of
thing.
stake? Same thing.
We basically adopted their hybrid masternode and proof of work consensus. Obviously, we have a different mining algorithm, but we're still using this hybrid mechanism as well. But we don't use the masternodes for governance because I just feel like, that's like, I mean, this is I'm really in good terms with the Dash guys, and it's kind of where I started my privacy coin journey. But it's just something that or at least I feel that this is something that we shouldn't go down, right? To have pure token voting as a way to determine the direction of the project. I've seen so many projects being ruined by pure token voting. It's kind of like saying the rich should just have their way, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's how it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Mm.
so Dash has done a great job of getting into like they
Mhm.
proclaim like 150,000 merchants will accept Dash.
Yes.
Have you been
Mhm.
able? What about Firo? Have you been able to get any kind of adoption to be able to actually spend it?
Yes, I mean we've been working on it. Obviously a THORChain integration would help a lot with this. We also actually, when we were integrated on Binance, we had a lot more options, but when we got delisted, a lot of those rails also disappeared. But now, like, we have a couple of places, like in Syria, we're actually seeing a lot of adoption on the ground where people are like,
Syria, the country?
yeah, Syria, the
Oh,
country.
wow.
Which is kind of interesting. There's actually someone who set up an office there that he sets up to educate people on Firo, and he got like a pharmacy to accept it, a grocery store to accept it, a place that sell like water heaters, solar panels. So there's a whole ecosystem that's being developed there. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. Obviously, we also got integrated on something called Anon Bazaar, which is uh, run by the same people as XMR Bazaar, right? So we're the only other coin besides Monero to be on this Anon Bazaar thing. And now we have quite a lot of listings, at least a couple of hundred, and it's still growing. So yeah, we are rebuilding. Obviously, we lost a lot on the Binance delisting, but I feel that it was a necessary evil in the sense that it was um it was a crutch that needed to be removed, and I feel that we're much better off without them because they had really really high requirements that was disproportionate to our size, right? They say like,
Yeah.
oh, you need to maintain $70,000 on the buy on each side, buy and sell, and we're like, with such a small project, what are you talking about, right? You're going to basically kill us, right? You're just
Yeah.
letting people the price can't move, right? With that sort of liquidity for that kind of small project. So yeah, I'm
So,
really glad that we got removed. I mean, didn't happen on our terms, but
yeah.
we're a lot better from it. I think we are like 4 times the price than when we got delisted. So
Oh, wow,
that's
nice.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it's those things in life that at the time it's just like, why is this happening to me? And it just seems like it's so bad. But then like several years later you look back and like, well, that was actually had that not happened, this wouldn't have happened, that wouldn't have happened. And I'm really happy where I'm at right now today. And that's you know, yeah, I think if you have a positive attitude about things, you can always make it actually work in your favor. So yeah, good for you.
Yeah. That Dash
So
also had the benefit of becoming, although they were called a privacy coin, they this basically at the moment before they adopt any sort of privacy protocol, which I understand they're going to be doing Orchard, if I'm not mistaken, from Joel. But right now it's just like CoinJoin, right? So from a risk perspective, it's no different than Bitcoin, right? Like currently. Yeah,
mm.
it's the same threat profile, probably less private than Litecoin with its Wimble extension blocks. Yeah.
So you mentioned if say Firo was on THORChain, it would help you get in, into these more partners to be able to be to spend. How would that work? Like, why would being listed on THORChain help you
Because
guys get?
there's a lot of a lot of swap providers, they rely on centralized exchange backends. But you guys have like swap providers that use THORChain's liquidity for that, right? So
Mm,
obviously, once you have easy liquidity between all these other coins or whatnot, then it's much easier for us to have the integrations to say, oh yeah, I want to convert into stablecoin, I want to do all these things, and that's all handled on the back end, right? Rather than not right now. Let's face it, when we talk about crypto adoption, I would say 99% of them, they're okay with accepting crypto, but it's still denominated in fiat, right? Like US dollars, but in Monero, US dollars, but in Bitcoin. Very seldom you'll say like, oh yeah, I'm just going to price it in Bitcoin, and no matter how much the price goes up and down, I'm going to sell it. That's not very realistic. Nice idealism for it, but
no,
I
we're
don't
not
think
there yet.
that's we're not
Mm,
there yet,
yeah,
especially. I mean, I don't see crypto replacing fiat. It just is a complementary alternative system to keep fiat in check. That's how I view it, right?
mm,
And we have to realize that cryptocurrency doesn't have an army. Cryptocurrency doesn't control the law, right? It's this alternative system to be there when the system fails, right?
yeah.
And it's to keep fiat kind of in the balance, which is why I think privacy coins are really important too. I see it as, I'm not anti-government, I'm not an anarchist. I see it as a
I
check
am.
and balance. Yeah, no, there's
Yeah,
nothing
you
wrong
go.
with that,
I
but I'm
know.
just
Yeah,
saying that it's more of a check and balance against government overreach. And
yeah.
we are entering into a era, especially with social media and digital stuff, where governments are no longer representatives of people. They are effective rulers, right? And even in democracies, where they can put out narratives and people just eat it up, and they can be steered wherever they want, right? We are moving into a state where the individual rights of the person can be easily trampled, and we've seen this trajectory over the past 20 years. I mean, I think the biggest one was like Patriot Act and all of that, and it's just gotten worse and worse since then. And I can understand how the anarchists feel, but what I'm saying is that don't put your trust in government, and that's why you kind of need all these other things to make sure that you have the tools to resist tyranny, right? Because like in US, like, oh yeah, we have got to have guns so that if the government comes, we can use guns to fight them. Well, fat luck helping that, doing that if you have no money, right? You got
Yeah.
your bank accounts frozen, you're locked out of all your money. There's no physical cash. Yeah, you got guns. What you gonna do, right? Yeah,
Well, it's, the this is how social credit system works, right? And like the US has already weaponized the dollar when
yes,
they cut off Russia, right? And they freezing Russian bank accounts, freezing Russian
yep.
assets, and Russian people can't do anything. And like, for anyone who's been debanked, I've been debanked. I had two of
Me
my
too.
banks within a month close my account, and it's a uh, like you can't imagine how powerless you feel because it really immediately you start thinking, well, how am I going to exist? How am I going to pay bills? How am I going to pay my rent? And it's a bit scary. And so this is how why a social credit system will succeed. It's why it works because the average person, there's no way they have the will that you and I do to push forward and keep going, right? They will cave in a heartbeat and they'll fall in line and you just they become perfect slaves. And and this is what like the THORChain community is worried about is if, we're a beacon of light, if we're like one of the few projects, Firo, you come on THORChain and we're all working together to be truly free and to protect
Yep.
ourselves from this Orwellian tyrannical system, how do they not come and attack us? How like are you worried about that? Do you think that like fine, we might be okay now because we're just small and just kind of on the
Yeah.
fringe. But if we actually start succeeding and we actually gain momentum and we do become a genuine threat to their authority, not because we're doing anything immoral, not some of
Yeah.
drugs or illegal activities,
Yeah.
they can't control us, and that threatens their authority, right? It's like Galileo saying that the Earth is not the center of the universe. What that really does is threaten the church because it shows the church is wrong, and the church can't have that on their watch. They have to be known as right,
Understand.
and they wanted to kill him for it. And so, are you worried about this?
Of course.
how do we protect ourselves? I mean, you mentioned being a lawyer, so you understand the inner workings of the machine. Um, it's like we're walking a fine line here, and how do we stay on this line and not fall off either side? So I'm curious your thoughts.
I mean, it's really tough, right? Because a lot of times, like no matter, like being in my own experiences is that yeah, even you have your legal arguments or something, but it also has to make commercial sense for the exchanges and stuff like that, right? Obviously, with THORChain, it's a bit different, but I mean, at least from my project standpoint, a THORChain integration would be amazing, right? But at the same time, we are not saying like put all our eggs on one basket, right? We have to make sure there's complementary solutions, right? And they all come with their own different trade-offs. Like for example, the guys at Basic Swap DEX, right? It's an atomic swap based DEX, and yes, obviously, atomic swaps are not as user friendly, right? You require both parties to be online. You need to swap and all of this. But, it requires much less coordination, much less complexity than something like THORChain. And, there are people using it, right? Or maybe there's a KYC-less swap provider like Wizard Swap or something else. Not ideal, but the idea is that you might sure that you pop up many, many different options. There's Atomic Swap DEX, there's Sarai DEX, there's Tor DEX, with also on Bison Wallet. And they all come with their own different kind of trade-offs, right? And you want to make sure that you have all these available options up there so that it becomes really, really tough to just target one thing. Yeah, maybe one goes down, then another comes up, right? And I think I mean, like we're already kind of seeing it with Monero where, yes, centralized exchanges are delisting Monero, but we're also seeing like increased use in stuff like Retro Swap or stuff like that, right? And obviously, once THORChain comes in, then there'll be another option, right? So I mean, I really just believe the way to kind of handle it is, yes, there is some things you can do from a legal standpoint, but I think from a project standpoint, it just makes more sense to also diversify with different type of protocols and different, like, especially with atomic swap dexes are, I would think, one of the more censorship resistant stuff, but it comes with a lot of usability drawbacks that THORChain does not suffer, right? So I don't know if that kind of makes sense. Mhm.
So do you I'm curious, and this is the thing too, like everyone usually worried about the authorities. It's always the US, right? So I don't
Mm,
know, you're in
mm,
Asia right now. I don't know. Is there any
yep.
do you have concerns about any governments around there doing anything?
I
Um
mean, this is also why, like, we try not to touch stable coins, especially with all these swap providers and all that.
mm.
But obviously, it's a concern. But I think for the moment, we have bigger concerns to worry about. But like right now, we try not to have. I mean, yes, of course, we have, like, supporters in the US and whatnot, but we're not actively seeking like a UX exchange listing
Yeah.
or things like that,
Yeah.
right? So
That's the other
that's
thing
kind of
too.
our thing. Mm.
Yeah, like it's like a lot of people are worried about Big Brother, but it's like, well, if you don't live in the US, you're probably fine. It's just the US
No, you're not.
is the big brother, right? That's the main one,
Mm.
and if they're gonna leave
Malaysia
you
spies on
alone.
its own citizens as well. They're just not that good at it. The
For sure,
US and China, I guess that the
main
number
ones.
one people
Yeah.
for surveillance, but we're getting there. Like, we have something in Malaysia called the e-invoicing system, which sounds really innocuous, but it means that every single commercial transaction, from buying a coffee and whatnot, gets directly reported to the tax authorities.
Oh, wow.
Every single transaction, right? So, and especially now, like, with cash being much less, like in Asia, cash is like really quickly disappearing. Like, everyone's using QR codes and digital wallets and stuff like that. And if an e-invoice is generated with every single transaction, that's quite tough, right? Then, and just kind of share, like, I was debanked for an entire year, and that was really rough, and it was over a stupid $500 transaction, and my entire life was kind of locked down. I was blacklisted at the central bank, and what was actually happening was because, well, okay, just make a long story short, there's no um although the Securities Commission in Malaysia deals with digital assets, they don't touch stablecoins. It's the Central Bank of Malaysia that deals with stablecoins, but the Central Bank of Malaysia hasn't come out with any guidance on stablecoins. And as a result, there's no way to kind of convert in from stablecoins into like, our local fiat currency in any of the regulated exchanges. So you're forced to use P2P, right? And what happened was that, there was Binance P2P and a bunch of other places that were doing this type of stuff. And basically, I accidentally touched, over a $500 transaction, I had touched tainted money that someone was scammed of this, $500. Because of this, I was flagged. My whole bank account was frozen for an entire year, and I had a blacklist uh, at the central bank. And even when the police cleared me and said, like, look, this, you're obviously, like, how many layers down, you just got caught and it's like $500. I said, look, could you just like freeze the $500 and let me use the rest of my money there? No, it took many, many months, right? And it was horrible. I still had loans to pay. I still had stuff to do, right? And it was just a nightmare, right? And luckily I had some crypto, right? And even then it was like, okay, I convert crypto to what? I mean, like, yeah, I'm not like Joel who can live totally off crypto. There's hardly any places here that would accept or even have those conversions. But at the same time, I was like, I'm really glad I still have this alternate source of money that isn't seizable, right? And finally, when they released it, I was like, yeah, okay, wow, after 1 year, 1 year over a 500 US dollar transaction. And to get it unfrozen, I had to basically go to the bank and explain almost every single transaction I had for the past year, which was
Yeah,
ridiculous. They were like, "Why do you pay so much for this card?" I'm like, "It's a Magic the Gathering card." I'm like, "Why are you doing business with your bank account?" I'm like, "No, it's a hobby." I'm like, "Yeah, I know I spend a lot on cards, but it's not a business, you know, like." And it was just like really like I had to explain to them what Magic the Gathering was, why certain cards were worth like 1,000 US dollars, and just the granularity that I had to go. I was like, wow, I am living in the surveillance state, right?
yeah,
And I realized that I could just be cut off from the system like that, and there was nothing I could do with it, right? Like
yeah,
banks would turn me away. They were like, we can't help you open a bank account because you have this blacklist with the central bank, and
yeah,
you just have to convince that bank to remove their mark, and then we can consider removing it from the central bank. So it took a whole year, and even now I'm still like on some sort of gray list or stuff like that. But that was like very scary, and similarly, I mean, this was why I got into cryptocurrency because as a VPN business, I had my money frozen. Like PayPal would freeze my money and say, "Tell me what you're doing. Explain your business model to me." I explained it to them, and they're like, "Okay, unfreeze." And like that's like a 1 week of like, what am I gonna do? I've like shit. I have people to pay and whatnot. And then next thing, someone forgets, and then they come and freeze my money. A couple of months down the line again, and that's why I'm into crypto, right? I'm not
yeah,
doing anything illegal. I'm even
yeah,
paying my taxes, but like it's ridiculous. Like my father brought me up to say, pay your taxes, obey the law, and then you live a very stress-free life because there's nothing to hide. But then, I my ex my experience with government and tax authorities have been always like guilty until proven innocent, right? Like
yeah,
you freeze my account, you do the investigation, I'm already suffering,
yeah,
and then when you release me, then what? I don't
yeah,
get any compensation. I just suffered all this time over one bad transaction, right?
yeah,
And they were saying like, oh, I said, can't I talk to someone? And like, oh, there's only two people in our bank in the whole of Malaysia that deals with these cases. So you just have to wait your turn.
yeah.
Amazing, right? So yeah, sorry, that was
The
a bit of a,
No, don't apologize. It's
detour.
good because this is important. Because like,
Mm,
there might maybe if someone's listening to it is still on the fence, it's like it's only a matter of time before you've done something wrong, right? It's
yeah,
not a lot of people think, "Well, I don't do anything wrong. It's not gonna have to be. You're a crypto guy, and so you're doing the shady stuff. That's why it happened to you."
yeah,
It's a slippery slope.
mm,
This is how tyrannies work. This is how genocides happen. It's not instant.
yeah.
It's I don't know how to do it. You just slowly
Yeah,
go
I know there
down
was
into
that
it, right?
point, right? Like they came after that, and I didn't speak up because it wasn't me. And then next thing, like then there was no one left. So that kind
Exactly.
of,
It's
yeah,
exactly it. This is what we're living in, and like,
yeah,
so we see it, we get it, and and we have to, evil prevails when good men do nothing, right? And so, we're doing something. We're doing what we can. Um, so I'm curious. Like, I kind of flip flop back and forth sometimes. So sometimes I think they're going to be dark and like kidnap somebody, and one of us is just going to disappear one day. And the other part of things to me is like, well, maybe there's going to be more indirect. So, like, for example, maybe Big Brother did hijack Bitcoin and do the small blocks to make it kind of unusable. Maybe what they'll do is with privacy coins, they just make it really hard for people to
yeah,
use them, to bank in them, and so they're using the banking system to just cut people off who are involved in privacy coins. Maybe they'll do it more
yeah,
indirectly, right? So maybe one day with THORChain, they'll just put pressure on the exchanges. Okay, any crypto that touches a THORChain liquidity pool, you can't deposit, right?
yeah,
And it'll be something like that that they try to
yes.
to hamstring us. I'm curious what you think. If they are going to like kind of make a concerted effort to try and stop us, how do you think? which avenue do you think they're gonna go? Do you think they're gonna go the
I
more
think they're just gonna go.
overt?
I don't think they're
Mi
going. I don't think they're gonna be like kidnapping people. Obviously not. I don't really know how the THORChain team is set up, right? But obviously, the developers would be at risk, right? I mean, obviously, it's supposed not to. Software is freedom of speech and whatnot. But we saw what happened to the Tornado Cash guys, right? And despite people saying, "Oh yeah, Trump is pro crypto and whatnot," the Tornado Cash cases are still ongoing, right? They're still not resolved. The I mean,
well,
that's one way, obviously.
and the
Mhm.
Samurai Wallet devs, they were convicted. They're in jail right now.
Yep.
So shout out to them
The
too.
Samurai Wallet, I would say, is a little bit more. Uh, like, not to say that I don't support them, but then from like a legal perspective, they were running like the actual like infrastructure to do the mixing and earning fees off it, right? So like it was like I offer you this privacy and therefore you pay me. And so, like, that's how they kind of constructed the case, right? With Tornado Cash, it was a lot more abstract where they came up with the code, they removed the control. They, if someone launders money to them, they don't profit from it, right? Unlike with the Samurai wallet, you're charging a fee. So you can say, like, oh yeah, profiting from the money laundering, right? I don't know. Maybe THORChain is a bit. Yeah, I think that is definitely a risk that you guys have to think about. I mean, I'm sure you guys have lawyers and all that. I don't dare to offer any sort of legal. As a lawyer, I don't dare to offer legal advice
Come on,
when it
Reuben.
comes
Come
to.
on. Get some free legal advice. I'm gonna hold you to it. Reuben said, "I'm gonna go court one day. I'll be on the
No, no,
stand."
no, no. I'm a Malaysian lawyer. Used to be
Well,
Malaysian lawyer with.
and maybe just, I'm sure you don't agree with what happened to Samurai Wallet, but you're just acknowledging
Yes.
this is the avenue they
Mm,
took to
yeah,
come up
and it's a much
drum up
more
some
clear cut.
charges to come up with something. Yeah.
That's right.
Um, and so like, yeah, so from THORChain's point of view, like it's, you know, you keep hearing about these hacks going through it. And from what the authorities never talked to anybody, never charged anybody, nothing like that. But everything on THORChain is public, right? So
Yeah.
nothing's being obfuscated. And,
Yeah.
like we aren't, again,
Growing
I'm
that
not,
validator set would be really important because you want to
yeah,
make sure that it's really like it really looks it is decentralized, right? It's not just like
it,
a couple of people. Yeah,
it
that's right.
is like, this is
Mm,
like, I know
mm,
sometimes it might not look like it, but man, when something is wrong or something needs to be done,
yeah,
the node operators, everybody rallies, community rallies, and it's usually kind of self-evident when it's to be done. If a change ever comes along that isn't self-evident and is maybe controversial, you
yeah,
immediately find out how
mm,
decentralized THORChain is. There's so many people arguing and
yes.
disagreeing, and it's so hard to get anything done. And like uh, it can be a mess sometimes. So I actually think it's just, I do believe THORChain is decentralized, especially relative to most other crypto. Obviously, not as good as Ethereum or Bitcoin, but we're definitely better than majority of others. And I think we're at a point now where a lot of the nodes just, everyone just tends to agree. We tend to kind of come to the same conclusions, and so we reach consensus faster on things, which might give the illusion of centralization. But if we
No, I'm
really
not
were,
even talking about that. But I'm like I think one I know, like, Kayaba Luke has been like quite critical of THORChain, but what he has done with Serai Dex, which obviously hasn't launched yet, but he has a rotating validator set, right? So that means the vaults they don't stick to like identified group of people. It actually rotates as it goes along. People drop in, drop out, and then it reforms, right? I think from a legal perspective, especially when he himself is not like giving himself any sort of allocation of tokens and whatnot. Of course, it may not be bulletproof. Maybe they still might want to go after him, but I think he structured it in such a way that, from a legal perspective, I feel like, oh, that's probably the highest bar that you can kind of get, right? Where you have a rotating validator set. there's no token that you are like directly making money out of and stuff like that, then it becomes, I think as protected as you can possibly be from a legal perspective, right? So just kind of like letting you know, right? Because like even some of the stuff that we are looking at, like for example, Rosen Bridge, which is like with Ergo, where they do kind of like decentralized ish wrapping. It's a federated group of validators, which I don't know, 10 or 12 like unrelated kind of not unrelated, more like like they're independent from each other. But even that is a potential risk, right? Because it's a relatively small group of people. But if you have like thousands of validator nodes they are like constantly rotating, and no one is like holding the key to a particular set, then that becomes I think, at least from a legal perspective, a lot harder to attack. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I'm not so familiar with how THORChain works,
It's
but I
there's
believe,
rotating
yeah.
nodes every 3 days. 3 nodes get kicked out and new nodes can enter. And then because it's basically a 2 of 3, so, like, there are
Mhm.
67 of 100, you need 2/3 of
Right.
nodes. You never know if your node is signing a transaction or not.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
so,
Mm.
um, yeah, and again, when you say legal, it's like, for the current laws or the current interpretation, it might be good enough,
Yeah, I
but
mean, like Samurai Wallet thought they were following the law, right? Because there was
yeah,
guidance out to say that multis, as long as you're not holding custody, you're not
yeah.
responsible. But
Well,
then
even
they
Fin
caught them, right?
so
Yeah.
what, again, my memory could be wrong, guys, but if I remember correctly, what did the DOJ charge them with something, whatever, certain specific term, that violated some kind of money laundering term, and then FinCEN, who actually, like, writes the laws or whatever, regulates it, they came back and said, "Well, no, they're not actually doing that."
Yeah.
And apparently the prosecution withheld that from the samurai defense. And so, like, basically, what the DOJ was accusing Samurai of breaking some FinCEN laws, and FinCEN came back and said, "Well, no, they're not." And you
Yeah.
can't get more Orwellian than that. And they just
Yeah.
prosecuted them anyway. And, so this is what I'm worried about, and I think a lot of the broader community is worried about, is just if they just wanna get you, they're just gonna find a way to get you and come up with something,
Yeah, like
and,
Ross Outbreak, right? Like like
yeah.
like before he got pardoned, and what I found was very weird was that one of the charges was like, oh yeah, like there was a conspiracy to murder or something like that, and then the prosecution actually dropped that because like there was not enough evidence, but yet somehow the judge referenced it into the sentencing. I was like, wait, they dropped the charge. Why is it still being factored into the sentencing? And it's, I don't know. I feel that unfortunately the U.S. justice system has kind of like been severely eroded, but
Oh,
that's
it's a
a
kangaroo court.
political thing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, but anyway, well, so, let's, maybe we talk some more positive. So, like, like, I guess this is, like, what it's like, fix the money, fix the world, right? This is what we're working on, right? So, yeah, I guess, like, so Firo is part of that, and, like, do you have any, like, so, okay, so you would love to get onto THORChain. Let's say we get Firo
Obviously,
on
yeah.
THORChain.
Mhm.
Um, what would be next steps for Firo? What else do you guys have planned? Like, what else would you guys wanna do? And would THORChain play a part in that, in helping make that a reality?
So one of the things that we are really excited about is something called Spark Assets. So we are like saying like, yes,
Sorry,
being
Reuben,
a
your
oh,
internet
no.
just cut out again. Um,
No.
yeah,
Hello.
um,
Right.
you yeah, you were perfect just a few seconds ago. Maybe I can hear you now.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Okay, please start
Okay,
again.
great.
Yeah, you're
Sure.
excited there. I
So
didn't wanna miss that.
yeah. One of the things that we're excited about is something called Spark Assets, and the idea that well, almost there. I think we're probably like a couple of days away from having this on rag test, which is like one step before testnet. And basically, it would allow people to create any sort of asset on Firo and have that protected in the Spark layer, right? And the beautiful thing about it is that the asset type is also hidden, right? So yeah, sure, maybe Firo alone may not have many people using it. Yes, it's like a decent number, but it's like, obviously not as much as Monero. But if people start like creating their own assets, could be a stable coin, could be a voting token, could be a meme coin, could be anything, right? And all of them would share the same anonymity set as Firo because on the chain is indistinguishable. So that means, unlike in Tornado Cash, at least the original versions of Tornado Cash, when you deposited USDC, you were in the USDC pool. Everyone, like, you knew that, when the transfer happens, like, the USDC pool is the USDC pool, right? The DAI pool is the DAI pool, which kind of meant that your anonymity was kind of fragmented across different assets, right? That means like although you may like maybe I can't come up with a Kenton coin and I put it into Tornado Cash, but there's only like 5 people using Kenton coin, and then well, Tornado Cash wouldn't do a really good job, right? But with Spark assets, because all the asset types are indistinguishable, even if you only have 5 people using Kenton coin, it will still share the same anonymity as every other asset on Firo and also Firo itself. So I do think it kind of is the movement from just becoming a privacy coin into like a privacy ecosystem. And it'd be kind of really exciting to see what people will be building on this, whether they be like, more decentralized stable coins or stuff like that. And if THORChain could be like a key part of that, I'm not sure how the infrastructure would work, but that would be really exciting because, I think that expands the use case. Like it improves Firo at being a privacy coin because it increases the anonymity set, but it also increases like the utility. That means that, other people can bridge tokens from Ethereum or Solana or whatnot into Firo, get the privacy. You can even just stay within the Firo privacy layer. And then when you say, all right, I want to cash out from the exchange and whatnot, I pull out, go into a centralized exchange, and then convert it into whatever I want. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Cool.
no bridge.
Nice.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's amazing.
Mm.
Is anything else about Firo that you wanna talk about, or anything in general that you wanna talk about that we haven't, you wanna bring up?
Well, I mean, like, I mean, this was just a cool use case that we did. It was quite some time ago in 2018, but Firo's blockchain was actually used in the Thai Democrat Party elections to do a large scale political election for their political party. And it was over like 127,000 votes that was being cast on a blockchain on the real life, like, party leader election thing. And although this is not like directly related to Firo, I'm actually like working on a project to do privacy preserving polling that will be hopefully working with my own state government to use this as privacy preserving infrastructure for people to give feedback to the government, right? To say like, how do you feel about certain things, which helps both the government and also helps the people to have their voice being heard. So that's, I guess, like an extension of our technology and stack and whatnot, right? It may not be directly Ethereum, but I think this is like, potential to change quite a lot of things, like to have people to have a real voice back into decision making rather than the current way that people do polls, like they call people up and I don't know, maybe 6% of people pick up and they ask their opinions. Like your sample set is already kind of contaminated. Like when you see a call from an unknown number or someone asks you for a survey, are you actually going to answer? Like,
Yeah,
I don't think most people would.
yeah.
So
You definitely
yeah,
get it'd be an interesting sample set of people. Um,
that's right.
yeah. But you brought up an interesting point
Mm.
about, political parties, like, especially in today's world, like, politics is so polarizing. Like, it's only a matter of time before the party you disagree with is in power,
Yeah.
and they do carry out the things you're worried about, and they prevent you from contributing money to the opposing side, right? This is the whole point of a free monetary system, is to protect ourselves from those tyrannical regimes, and um, we could be closer to those kind of things that we realize that governments will stop funding for any true alternative. So um, yeah, well, I really
Oh,
appreciate. Go ahead.
one more thing I wanted to. I know
Yeah,
we're coming up to the time, but I wanted to talk. I know you said bridge is a
we,
banned word, but this was
we can go as long as you
something
want. By
that.
the way, if you want to keep talking,
Uh,
we keep going. Yeah.
yeah. So oh gosh, you said bridge is a banned word. Never mind. So there's this thing that we've been working on together with Rosen. And Rosen is part of the Ergo team, and they have this kind of they have this thing. It's not a real bridge. It's more of a way to do more decentralized wrapping of coins, right? And this is again another way to approach how can Firo continue to enjoy liquidity in a very challenging regulatory state, right? And one of the things like, all right, no one has problems with ERC20 tokens, but we need access to the liquidity, right? So why don't, if there was a way to do decentralized wrapping, like, like USDT is wrap US dollars sitting in the bank account. But if there was this, like, I would say more federated set that you could wrap Firo, have it represented as an ERC20 token on Ethereum or BNB chain or Solana, now you can participate in all the DeFi protocols that you can put, like, significant liquidity on Uniswap. Sure, there's going to be some compromise of privacy, but it's only when you're obtaining it and going and interacting there. Once you're out, you're like, that trail disappears, right? So I think that's a very interesting way to approach it. It's like, sure, it's very hard to build privacy preserving DeFi. I mean, you can kind of do it, but with a lot of trade-offs, and you're gonna get like very little liquidity there. Why don't I just make myself a standard ERC20 token? It's not gonna have privacy, but you can kind of protect your privacy if you watch how you bridge in and out. You just use it as a place to get your Firo and to sell your Firo, kind of like how you would deal with a centralized exchange, except you don't even need KYC, right? So I feel that that's another way to approach, like I would say, liquidity for a privacy coin, even if the privacy coin is banned, right? Because so far we have not seen like, oh yeah, certain ERC20 tokens can't be swapped on Uniswap or something like that, right? That would be a big step for Uniswap to start saying you shouldn't be trading certain ERC20 tokens because they are actually being backed by a privacy coin. That would be a very big question that then, well, okay, then why do you allow meme coins to create and all this other stuff? So I think that's another interesting approach. THORChain is one approach. Atomic swap dexes is one approach. But this decentralized wrapping or more decentralized wrapping rather than fully decentralized is a very, I would say, like a pragmatic solution to solving privacy coin liquidity. So yeah.
Well, do you know about the app layer on THORChain?
No, tell me about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So um, basically, you could everything you're talking about doing, wrapping tokens to go do stuff on DeFi on Ethereum, you can do on THORChain. And
Oh, great.
so you've got the liquidity pools. We call that the base layer, and so those are native L1 assets. And then on the app layer, like the smart contract side of things on THORChain, someone can deposit Firo and in return get a wrapped Firo. And we call it a
Right.
secured asset. And so that Firo is held um,
Is it in the
um,
same vault infrastructure that
same vault infrastructure
all
as
right,
the pools.
okay.
And so you get this wrap token secured asset that's on THORChain that you can now go do a bunch of different things with. You can borrow against it, perpetuals. There's concentrated liquidity pools, paired with stable coins, so you can provide liquidity in a different way. So you just have basically all those things that you're thinking about on like DeFi on Ethereum, you can do on THORChain's smart contract layer. But the key difference is on THORChain is that you can settle into the native like
Right.
instantly right away, no fees, no fuss, because you've got the native pool liquidity right there. Because it all comes down to your liquidity. All these features are only as good as the underlying liquidity, right?
Yes.
Like you were saying about if Kenton coin is going through Tornado Cash, but there's no one using it, it's pointless. If you have your wrapped Firo on Aave and there's really no one using it there, there's no liquidity, you're not gonna get very good rates, right? It's gonna be
Yeah.
pretty
Well, I
bad.
mean, what means like you put it on Uniswap, then it's like you can route to other exotic pairs or other stable coins as well, right? Which
Yeah.
I'm assuming you can do with the wrap version on Tor
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
So the so that's what the app layer is for, is that it basically is everything is built on top of this pool of liquidity. So it should make these features more stable because the ability to go from the wrapped to native back and forth effortlessly, seamlessly, quickly, zero cost should make these features more stable. So that's an advantage of getting into the THORChain liquidity pool is that all those features then become available to you. B
Yeah.
but well, the guys might still have to approve it, but basically instantly, because the smart contracts are permissioned right now. But it is the intention basically to, support every liquidity pool that's on THORChain. So, um, yeah, so that's another reason we gotta get Firo. Get you some access to some of these DeFi features.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, as I said, we were always very interested in getting on Chain. It was like, big thing, but back then, I guess like different management, different risks
what
appetite on
happened
privacy coins.
to walk
Mm.
us through it? What happened back then? Because THORChain's like new management now, and so I'm curious what happened with old
What,
management?
what can I say? Oh, basically, they were saying that there were certain amounts that we needed to pay, and to also that we had to continue to pay to maintain like a certain level, because I that time they were saying like, oh, THORChain could only support X number of assets, and it would be a very huge amount that you need to pay, or at least provide that liquidity. And, we're definitely okay to provide liquidity. You can contact some of our big holders to do that. But then when I think there was some heat, and they were saying like, oh yeah, we're not so keen on privacy coins. So, we're just like, okay, well, we left it at that because, we knew where that was going, right? And uh I mean, I don't hold it against the new management of THORChain, but I remember very clearly there was this promise to integrate Monero and all of that, and that reluctance to integrate any new privacy coins back then was like, well, if Monero and Zcash can't get on, why should I even bother, right? Like,
Yeah,
I mean, that was
yeah.
the
Yeah,
idea
you're right.
then.
You're right.
Yeah. So
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 this
obviously
is
now, yeah.
that was for me one of the big, things that got me into THORChain was a promise from Monero. So I'm like, that would be
Yeah.
huge. I was pretty excited about that. And then, I think was it 22? That's when Roman Storm was arrested from the Tornado
Oh,
Cash
can't
guy?
remember the yeah,
I think it was
feels like quite a
22.
while.
And that kinda put the fear of God into the development team
Yeah.
that, like, we don't wanna risk this. We're not THORChain isn't decentralized enough. They're throwing developers in jail. Like,
Yep.
we don't wanna take that risk. But, you can't blame them, right? It's easy for everyone else to say,
Yeah.
"Oh, you should
I
do it," but, like,
know.
when you're the actual
Yeah,
guys on the chopping block.
do I want to go to jail, right? And you see like
Yeah,
many US privacy projects go suddenly, yeah, we're not
yeah.
about
And
privacy anymore. Yeah.
these were US peoples, US
Yeah.
persons. So I can appreciate that. But, now the dev team is much less reliant on the US. I
Mhm.
think we have more node operators around the world. I am not a US person. I don't live in the US. And then just also too, just the regime change, like this administration is apparently much better. They made promises. They're not going to do anything. So we have a window of opportunity here. I think we need
Yeah.
to, and,
Mm.
and at least, and I get it, regimes can change. maybe in a few years, things get bad again. Um,
Got to try still.
uh,
Yeah.
pardon?
You got to try still. Yeah.
Exactly, and, like, we can at least gain some ground and maybe, like,
Yeah.
the
Be in a
biggest the
better position.
success
Hmm.
yeah, like, the more the success privacy coins on THORChain is, the bigger the network grows.
Yeah.
We only become a big target if there's a big success, right? If they stay small and nascent, we're fine, they're not gonna bother with us. But the bigger the success is, the more likely it could be they wanna come after us because they wanna control us. But we should be bigger and more decentralized by then too, and we can weather that storm better. So, yeah, I think we just have to go do it. I will say, so kind of what we're telling new projects, what I'm telling new projects, and I don't make the decisions, by the way, or I don't decide, but
Yeah.
like, generally, I think from the devs and kind of everyone's approaching new chains, this is how we're kind of viewing it, is that, we're asking you guys to provide liquidity, 25 grand. You can get a pool going with like 10 grand. You
Yeah.
probably need like 50 grand in a pool to have like some kind of, support
Yeah.
some
Makes sense.
decent volume. Um, Obviously you can do more if you want,
Yep.
but there's no yield on the pools anymore. And I
Yep.
think we're moving away from providing yield to liquidity pools
Yep.
and just having as protocol own liquidity. And so we're going to have a portion of the fees go towards uh, back into the pools that's owned by the protocol. So you could start, say, with 25 round pool, but then maybe over time, THORChain, the protocol itself, increases it to 50 to 100 to whatever, right?
Yep. Mm.
Um, but yeah, you'd have to view it kind of like providing liquidity on a SEX that is just kind of like a
That's fine.
cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at
Yeah.
least you
Yeah.
still own it. You still control it. You can withdraw
Yep.
it. You just gonna suffer permanent loss at some point, probably, right?
Yep.
But no one's dumping on you, right? This isn't like
Yeah.
right. So you still own it, control it. So that's one thing. The other one would be the dev time. So, we only have so many devs and, they're going to
Yeah.
prioritize,
That's why the
certain.
benefit of a transparent address is going to be
Well,
a lot easier, right? Like, so with your Zcash integration, are you doing it with their shielded address or with their transparent address?
transparent. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah,
Maybe one day when we do shielded again. I
right.
think it's just it's just resources, right? Everyone's just
Exactly.
stretched
Right.
thin, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
um, so I'm not to say it will never happen, but I think for now it's just going with unshielded. When we have Zcash live, would that make it really like the Firo? You could piggyback off of, like, if
yeah.
we
I
can
mean,
use
like
Zcash, we
especially
can do
Dash,
Firo and that. Yeah.
Dash would be close, very close to us, and Zcash, I guess, would be very close to us as well. I mean,
Okay.
like it's Bitcoin based, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, UTXOs are generally easier, right? And so,
yeah.
but if your devs can help provide support in that, that obviously helps, right? Um, and then, shoot, there was one. So your chain client, your chain daemon, how, that's probably the main, honestly, probably one of the bigger things right now from like a cost from THORChain's point of view is each node operator has to run a full daemon, full blockchain of each new
Yeah.
token we add,
It's
right?
not very
And
big. Yeah, yeah,
not very big, won't cost much. Because that's okay.
yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's the
It's
other.
like you can run it on a $5, $10 VPS. So
Okay,
it's
okay,
yeah, it's not a
yeah.
huge big. Well, yeah,
That
yeah,
that
yeah,
would be the other hang up. Um, those are the 3 variables, and so, um, I believe they're all overcomable, especially for project. If you guys are motivated and you wanna do this and you wanna work with
yeah.
us, I want you to. Like, this is the point of THORChain, is to get
So how
people
would we
off
start the
centralized
process? I
exchanges.
mean, obviously,
Yeah.
like go to a forum and talk to your
Well, are you
devs.
in the
Or
dev Discord?
mm,
On the
not
THORChain
yet. Yeah.
dev Discord?
Mm,
Yeah, so join
okay.
that, and, we connected on Telegram, right?
Yes,
Um,
that's right.
I can put you in touch with Star Squid and just make the intro. So Star Squid, he manages all the new chains. So him and
Great.
a few devs, they work on adding new chains. And,
Hmm.
shout out to you, Star Squid. You're great. He gets from every different direction. When's this chain
Oh,
gonna
I can
happen? Add that chain,
imagine.
do this. And the
Yeah.
poor guy, like I'm sure he gets frustrated with all these different requests, but I think him and his team do a good job of juggling them and making the community happy on which the order we're doing tokens. Um, so yeah, so right now we have our hands full with the exploit.
Yep.
Um, we want to try and get Zcash out there and Monero and Tau and Polkadot. So we kind of have a lot of on our plate in the next
Mhm.
month or so.
I guess it's more like
Um,
if there's a reference implementation for Dash or Zcash, we could already
well,
start adopting that, right?
yeah, exactly. Like, well, I'm a kind of a don't ask for permission and beg for forgiveness guy. You can just go submit a PR, just
Yeah.
get it going, you start it, right? Like THORChain's permissionless. It's decentralized. Like you don't have to ask for
Yeah,
permission to
but I
do it.
mean,
Just get in there.
yeah, no permission, but you want to make sure there's a
You
good
don't
chance of
respect it.
getting
Yeah.
approved, right?
Yeah.
Like not,
Yeah.
not like do all that work and like, we're just gonna leave it in PR for 5 years, right? Like you know.
But you're right. You're right. So like that's why I'll introduce you to Star Squid, and then you guys can kind of go back and forth, and he should be able to get a feel for how hard or easy this will be, and
Yeah, that'd
then
be great.
that'll help us prioritize, right? Whether it's something we can do.
Amazing.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but I would
You guys also integrating Xano as well or something with their gateway
I would love to.
addresses?
There's nothing official. We're gonna have a
Oh,
podcast with them in a few weeks.
cool.
They're coming out with I forget what it's called,
Gateway
but some
addresses.
gateway just yeah, to make it easier for
That's right.
dexes. I
Yes,
think
yes.
it was in May. This month, I think. Are they still on track? Um,
Yeah, I saw that. I saw some hard fork announcement that they were coming live, so I think it's pretty close. Yeah,
so yeah, I think we're just kind of waiting for them to deliver on that and then to have that conversation. But like if it's all up to me, I'm like, yes, as far as I'm concerned, we want THORChain, we want new tokens. We want new communities to join us, especially ones that want to work with us.
yeah,
Because I don't really like, we're trying to replace Binance. And it's not enough. We want to get all the users off of Binance, but I want to get all those tokens off Binance, right? For
yeah.
exactly the reasons you just talked about, getting kicked off and everything. You guys should find the home at THORChain, and we should be. I want to welcome your community and all the communities like you, like all these refugees. Like, come here and get your tokens listed on THORChain, and we're stronger together, right? And this is how network
Yeah.
effects build and grow, right? And um, and also too, like we never truly know which token is going to take off. It's as an exchange, we have to be agnostic. And if we start picking and choosing what we think are the winners, we've lost the plot. And Zcash is a
Is
really
there a
good one.
limit? Is there a limit to how
So
many?
the limit is the nodes running each blockchain for each
Right.
token.
Mhm,
That's our
mhm,
real limit because
mhm.
the infrastructure costs just get too big and too
Yeah.
difficult. And then, oh, I should add a fourth thing that we do need some devs keeping an eye on changes to
Yeah.
each chain. So if somebody from your team can be involved to help
Yeah. Yeah. No problem.
THORChain keep an eye on things, keep track. Hey, this update's coming. You guys got to do this. That's huge too because we need that help.
Yeah.
Um, but functionally, technically, I
It's
think it's
like
just
it's the same like with a centralized exchange, right? You have to give them
yeah,
heads up that you're upgrading. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. Mm.
So, and I mean, and you guys should be motivated to do that because if there's a problem with your pool on THORChain, right, that
Yeah.
looks bad on you guys,
Obviously.
right? So,
Hmm.
um, so no, it's really just mostly the THORChain node operators having to run all of these unique separate daemons. That's the bottleneck, I think. After that, I think it's just politics. Just you know, do we want to? How do we prioritize you compared to everyone else?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I've always felt the UTXO type chains, we should just bang them out, get them going. They're easy. They're all, it's, so the other thing is it increases the attack surface a bit, like, from an exploit. If we add your chain, could it be exploited?
Hmm.
I think that's always going to be a risk. I don't think it should stop us because that exploit should be unique to your chain and be
Yeah.
isolated to your pool. And especially if it's small, like I think It's just the risk we have to take.
Yeah.
Now I might be that's the thing too. The problem with the media, oh, THORChain's been hacked again, exploited, and whatever, right? And it's like, is that something we want to deal with? I'm kind of at the point now where it's like we just,
Yeah.
we
Whatever.
just keep going. Yeah, like you can't
I mean,
like,
THORChain has had a lot of experience in this regard, and you can just, it keeps on churning, right? I remember there
yeah.
was a time where there was like three vulnerabilities in a year or something like
Well,
that. It was
yeah,
like
and
many
that
years
was
ago. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and
Mm.
so it really bothers me when people bring that up against us. I'm not saying you're doing it, but
Oh
when
yeah,
other
yeah.
yeah, other people will
Mm.
bring it up against us, and it's like you got to look at this. You have to understand the situation. That was part of the plan to have a soft launch, a
Yeah,
guarded launch to go slowly, purposely capping the pools to a certain size, sort of if there was acting as a bounty to encourage people to come try and attack it and see if they can break it. And if they did, it was always part of the plan to reimburse people, to and
yeah.
nobody would lose anything. But the THORChain devs acknowledge we don't we can't find all the holes. We don't know. We got to just go live, and we'll
Especially AI
actually
now.
yeah, and we'll just use these hackers as like researchers and find the holes for us, and that's what they did. And so the plan worked. But then, the mouth breathers say, well, you failed. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Like,
What's a
all
mouth
these,
breather?
pardon? A mouth
What's a
breather?
mouth breather? Yeah.
Like they can't,
Oh, okay.
they're not
Right.
smart enough to keep their jaw closed. They're just, they breathe through their mouth and not their nose. Um,
I do that
so,
because I have a blocked nose, but
um, yeah, I guess it's a North American slang for an idiot, for somebody who's stupid. Um, but like this was during the 21 bull market when all these projects are like
yeah,
500 million, $1 billion TVLs, and then they're collapsing. And THORChain stayed small at 5, 10, 15 million. We could have easily gone to hundreds of millions and would have had that same exploit and lost way more money. But the devs kept it purposely capped and small just in case. And okay, a week or two goes by, we're okay, increase a little bit. And he's keep increasing a bit and a bit. So I think that is actually a sign of good. The THORChain was doing well back then. That
yeah.
those exploits weren't a bad thing; they were a good thing in how the protocol is managed and the approach. And so it bugs me when people use that against THORChain. This current hack, this isn't good, right?
Yeah.
This is on us, right? That's and could it have been prevented? Could it have been, figured out? Whatever,
Yeah.
I don't know enough to say, but this was definitely something that
Hindsight is
we know.
2020, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and again, it was, it's more to do with the actual cryptography we were using. It wasn't like the design or structure of THORChain was broken.
Zerocoin that Zcoin was doing had a huge vulnerability that went unnoticed for years. So, I know what it's like, and it was audited and all of that. Like, it's not as if they were negligent, right? It was just,
Yeah.
this
Well,
type of
same with,
stuff happens.
didn't you mention earlier about Bitcoin? I think wasn't it Bitcoin
Yeah.
Cash dev that
Yes,
actually
the
found
Bitcoin Cash Flow. Yes, in
he
2018.
he
That's right.
found some vulnerability in Bitcoin that'd been there for several years,
Yeah,
and they patched it up. So, unfortunately, this is still the risk in crypto for all of us, right?
that's
There's
right.
and now with AI coming along, and this guy who exploited THORChain, pretty, I think it's pretty safe to assume he is AI, judging on his code and everything. We're going to see more of this probably. That's why we have such a April. These last several weeks have been so much
Yeah,
exploits
yeah.
happening and as AI gets better, we're probably going to see more of this. So
I mean, like we've been integrating AI into our processes, and like stuff that we thought was like, oh yeah, should be fine. We're discovering and patching them very quickly, but it's just like there's so much. It's accelerating the rate of patches, but also like accelerating the bugs that we found, right? And I'm being very honest here. I think all projects are facing this. Like, it's not just not just crypto, but it's,
Yeah,
even Linux, we're seeing
yeah,
0 days here and there. It's just the new world that we have to live in, right? And now we also have the quantum threat to kind of think
yeah.
about. And I was just wondering, like, I mean, you may not have a complete answer, but like, I'm pretty sure all this threshold cryptography still relies on elliptic curve stuff. Has there been any talk about transitioning to other, post quantum stuff for THORChain? I mean, it may not be a priority now, but I'm just thinking about it, right? Because it
Is
also
it?
affects us as well. Hmm.
And I'm gonna. This is gonna show how much I don't know. Is DKLS? Is that
I have no idea.
quantum
I mean, it
resistant?
could.
Okay, I
I
don't know either.
I doubt it.
Okay, yeah. So there's just been talk about moving to DKLS, and then so yeah, I don't want to answer you because I'm probably gonna answer something wrong. But yeah, I'm not a
Let
dev,
me see. Let's
so
let's Google that. Just for shakers. Maybe.
Who uses Google anymore, Reuben?
Oh
Come on,
wait.
guess ask Claude or
No,
ChatGPT.
it's AI assisted, right? No,
Well, their
DKLS
AI
are
is
not
actually pretty
quantum
good.
proof.
Same with
Yeah, yeah,
Brave.
yeah.
I like their little AI summaries. Sorry, go ahead.
So DKLS is based off elliptic curve stuff as well. So
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, well, obviously we're gonna have to move to some quantum proof stuff, right? So, um, um, wrong answer equals TikTok short. Oh, he's making a joke. Um, yeah, I don't know what the actual plans are or talks about trying to protect for quantum. I'm not saying there isn't anything. I don't remember. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. No, I was just
Yeah.
it wasn't meant to put you guys in the bed, like, because I was
What
just very
What about
curious
Firo?
how. So Firo, we have a kind of like a plan. It's not a full plan. I don't think anyone actually has a full plan at the moment. There are ways to kind of like, protect funds, from being hacked, but then all the privacy benefits kind of like, go away, right? So like how are we so we're thinking of ways to add certain type of things to make it such that you can't harvest now and decrypt later. And that this is why, like, we're not going to do FCMPs, even though that was originally the roadmap, because, obviously we don't really know when it's coming, right? But, Google thinks it's around 2029, which previously we thought, we maybe had 10 to 15 years, but now it looks like we might need to kind of prepare on a 5-year kind of timeline, right? So, I think for you guys, especially with signature stuff, there's a lot more mature signature technology for that are quantum resistant. So I'm quite sure that this is much easier to resolve. But when you're coming with zero knowledge proof systems, they are quantum proof or quantum resistant ZK proof systems, but the performance is like you're giving up a lot, right? Like are you able to accept 50 times proof sizes, right? Like, yeah, it will work, but at what would it be fast enough for production level? That's the key thing, right? So, and yet at the same time, this is something that I've been talking about. It's like, should we be committing now to a protocol when the cryptography is going to be accelerating to solve these problems? Now that we know that the doomsday clock is coming, there's going to be a lot of new cryptography that is coming up right now. And if we use the, like, I actually was talking to a friend earlier and was like saying, like, yeah, we're going to try to build something with Stone Age tools, right? It's not going to be amazing. Shouldn't we be waiting until the slightly better tools are out there while we are focusing on, trying to mitigate any sort of risk on our current chain, like, building vaults that are quantum resistant and like emergency fallbacks and stuff like that. But we are still need to, we should still be looking at how all these solutions out there, but we must be careful before we commit into something that's not going to be very anonymous, not going to be very performant. Because, yeah, maybe I can do like quantum resistant ring signatures, but I have like a ring size of 10. And I'm like, man, this is kind of like going backwards, right? So, uh, we have a strategy, but not all the parts are fleshed out. And I feel that anyone that says, especially a privacy coin that says that they have the full thing fleshed out, is lying, right? Like I am following the Monero research. I'm also following the Zcash research. No one has fully figured it out yet. Yeah,
Mm,
but just was that's why I was really interested to see, what you guys were thinking about because they're just like, as a side note, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Well, well, if let's say nobody's thinking about it today, we're definitely gonna have to, right? It's
Yeah.
inevitable, right? Everyone's gonna have to do it. So, um, I don't know. Maybe it'd be interesting to see what the bigger players do, the Coinbases and
Hmm.
Binances of the world, right? So, maybe it's. I wonder if the solution will become kind of obvious that everyone just uses the same thing. Um, I don't know. Um, so do you think quantum computing is a real threat? It's I'll see that it's coming sooner than we think, and then I read another article. Well, it said more like 20 years away. Um,
I
do you
think
think
that
there's
it's more of like there are much more warning flags now, right? Like you do see there are real breakthroughs being made in quantum computing. They are solving it. They're not quite there yet, but you know how these things go. Like once you solve a bunch of things, and then it just goes like that, right? Like,
yeah,
kind of like with LLMs, right? Like LLMs were kind of shit for like a long while, and then suddenly it hit a certain point, and then it just went like, now a protocol, now like a model that's like 6 months old is like so much worse than the new model or something like that, right? And it's also kind of like even like with chess computers, right? At first they were like, oh, kind of shit for a really really long time, then he beat the world champion, and then suddenly now they're like unbeatable by humans, right? It's just that parabolic curve. So we are starting to see like these warning signs, right? We're not quite there yet. We don't have like a similar event of like, oh yeah, a world champion has been beaten, but it's more of like they're making steady progress, and all of the stuff they were taught to be hard looks to be a lot easier than they thought to be, right? So I feel that although I'm hopeful, I'm hopeful that we won't see a quantum computer in 3 years, but we still have to be moving that estimation. Like, okay, have to try to be ready by 5 or something like that, right? We don't
yeah.
want to be there when it's like 1 year away and we don't have a plan. Like, we have to start planning, having real concrete plans now, so that when it is almost coming, and there will be signs, or maybe there won't be signs, because honestly, that I was actually also saying this, whoever gets a quantum computer first, is not in their interest to disclose it, right? They'll break other people's cryptography, and I think it's very unlikely they'll target cryptocurrency to begin with. There's much bigger
It's too
fish
small.
or military. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just too small, right? And but there will be signs, right? So once there are more signs, then we know how to accelerate, but we shouldn't be caught flat footed when we are already seeing some warning signs, right? Yeah.
And we're already seeing this with AI too, like with Mythos,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're
yeah.
they're
That's right. That's right.
purposely only giving it to a handful of companies or people because they don't want to give it out to everybody. It just these exploits, not just in crypto, but in general in the world, could just take off.
Yeah. I mean,
So
some say it's a marketing stunt by Claude, but I feel that it's a mixture of both, right?
I
It's
ca I
good
can I can
marketing, and
buy it.
it's yeah, yeah, I can buy
I
it.
can
We can
believe it.
see it. Like we see the number of
Yeah,
reports coming in.
yeah,
We know that this is right there, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
No, I'm inclined to take it at face value that it is true. Um,
yeah.
well, Ruben, is there anything else you
Yeah.
wanna go over or talk about before we wrap things
No,
up?
no, no.
No?
I think it's been a great talk. We hitting the 2 hour mark, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
yeah. But
Well,
really enjoyed this talk, and I'm really glad that you invited me on this show, and got to, well, didn't really talk much about Firo, but
alright.
kind of glad to have
Yeah,
a platform to reach out to the THORChain audience, and it'll be a really good start to start looking into integration with THORChain as well. Really exciting. Yeah.
for sure, yeah, I'd love to have you in your community, I think it'd be great. It's similar ideals and, um Yeah, so I'm serious. Once we're offline, I'll make the intro to Star Squid for you there, and we'll see where
Sure.
that goes, and just get the ball rolling, get the process going.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for being a supporter of THORChain all these years. Despite not getting the answer you wanted a few years ago, thank you for staying in touch and still being supportive of THORChain and your support right now during the exploit. It's great. It's appreciated. Thank you. Um, yeah, that's actually
Thanks for
it's
doing this
actually
despite it.
yeah, yeah, of course. Well,
Yeah.
it's we've had this plan for I think a month now, right? And so
Yeah, yeah, about
we
that.
got to keep moving forward. We can't just stop everything we're doing. Um, we got to keep moving forward. And but yeah, despite the actually, honestly, kudos to you. Despite the exploit on THORChain, you are still interested on listing your token on THORChain. Like that's a huge compliment and a huge vote of confidence from you. So yeah, so thank you. Um, yeah, well, let's try and make it happen. I'll do what we can.
Yeah, sure.
So I just got a little outro here. I'm going to do, Reuben.
Yeah, what the
So,
oh, maybe I want to tell people where
oh,
to find out more about
oh
Firo.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Please, yes, yeah.
yeah, so just our website is at firo.org, firo.org. So you can just drop by. We're actually doing a revamp of our website to be more mission driven than about tech. So stay tuned for that. And we're pretty active on Telegram, which is also bridged to our Discord. So you just go to our website and you can see all our socials over there. So yeah,
What's your Telegram?
and yeah, the Telegram is at Firo Project. And there's also a announcement channel at Firo News as well. So
Mm, Get
that's right.
these to show.
Oh wait. The Firo org. Oh
Which one?
gosh, this is embarrassing. I got the link wrong, but it's Firo org, not
But
Firo
what?
Firo org. Yeah, not Firo project. Sorry.
Oh, it's Firo.org.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
so two O's in a row.
Yes,
Um,
that's right.
so let's see here. Oh, you just typed it
Yeah.
in yourself. Okay, and the other one's Firo News.
Yeah, Firo News is like for announcements. If you don't want to get spam and you just want to learn more.
Okay, those are on
Cool.
Telegram.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Now go ahead
interrupting
with
me
your
to do that.
outro.
Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate that. I feel bad for not asking. Any other like Twitter handles? Anything else? No. Okay.
I mean, Firo org. Yeah. No, just we're around. You can find us if you want to. Yeah.
Well, your Twitter handle is at Reuben.
Reuben Yup. That's right.
Was it at the top of our chat? Right? You sent it in.
Yeah, I'll type it here.
Where is it? Oh, there it is.
It's me. I'm totally doxxed.
There we go. Right on. Well, thank
Jewish
you,
Chinese
Reuben.
name.
um. Okay. Well, so if you'd like to become a node operator and need help, you can reach out to at Runetard on Twitter. It's RUNETARD. He can help you get set up and help you find bomb providers. For THORChain data and insights, follow at Ray Analytics on Twitter, RAYNALYTICS. And he does written recaps of these podcasts too, and they're really good. And so remember, the views expressed are solely those of the host and guests. Any action taken based on this information is at your own risk. Past performance is not indicative of future results. The THORChain community does not endorse or condone illicit activity of any kind. With that said, thank you, Reuben. Appreciate you coming on, and appreciate. We'll have to if we get Firo listed, we'll have to have you on again.
Definitely.
Talk about it. Yep.
Thanks so much, Kenton
Cool.
and Coke, and all the THORChain community that came to say. So yeah, see you guys.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.